On July the 17th, 1981, more than 1,000 people were gathered in the atrium of the Hyatt Regency Kansas City Hotel in Missouri for a Friday evening tea dance, a popular weekly event featuring live big band music, dancing, and socializing. The hotel's spectacular four-story atrium was filled with guests, some dancing on the main floor, others watching from elevated walkways that spanned the atrium at the second and fourth floor levels. These suspended walkways, or skywalks, were unique architectural features. Elegant bridges that appeared to float in the air, offering dramatic views of the lobby below. At approximately 7:05 p.m., as the dance was in full swing and the walkways were crowded with spectators, a catastrophic structural failure occurred. The connections holding the fourth-floor walkway to the ceiling suddenly failed. The fourth-floor walkway fell, crashing onto the second-floor walkway directly below it. Both walkways, with all the people on them, collapsed and plummeted to the crowded lobby floor. In an instant, the elegant hotel lobby became a scene of horror. Tons of steel, concrete, and glass crashed down on hundreds of people. When the dust settled, 114 people were dead, and more than 200 were injured. It was the deadliest structural collapse in U.S. history at the time. The investigation revealed a shocking truth. The walkways had been built with a critical design flaw, a last-minute change that reduced their load-bearing capacity by half. The collapse was entirely preventable, caused by engineering failures, inadequate oversight, and a modification that should never have been approved. This is the story of July the 17th, 1981, when a night of music and dancing became one of America's worst engineering disasters. Part 1. The Hyatt Regency, Kansas City, a modern marvel. The hotel, the Hyatt Regency, Kansas City, opened in 1980, just 1 year before the disaster. It was a stunning example of modern architecture and a source of pride for Kansas City. The building, 40-story hotel tower located in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, part of a larger complex including shops and parking connected to a convention center, designed to be a centerpiece of Kansas City's downtown revitalization, featured ultra-modern design elements. The atrium. The hotel's most striking feature was its four-story atrium lobby, a vast open space that served as the hotel's centerpiece. Design. Open from the lobby floor to the ceiling, 4 stories above natural light streaming in from skylights. Lush plants and fountains. Elegant furnishings. A dramatic, airy space designed to impress. The suspended walkways. The atrium's most distinctive architectural features were the suspended walkways, or skywalks. What they were: 3 walkways, skywalks, spanning the atrium at different levels. Second-floor walkway, third-floor walkway, fourth-floor walkway. The second and fourth floor walkways were directly above each other, stacked vertically. The third floor walkway was offset to the side. These walkways connected the hotel tower to an exterior walkway parking structure, made of steel and concrete, glass and steel railings, elegant modern design. The design intent appeared to float in the air, created dramatic visual effect, allowed guests to cross the atrium at different levels, provided viewing platforms overlooking the lobby. Architectural statement: look what modern engineering can do. The walkways were designed to be showpieces, beautiful, functional, and seemingly defying gravity. But beneath the elegant appearance, a deadly flaw was hidden in the connections holding them up. Part 2. The Tea Dance, July 17th, 1981. The event, the Hyatt Regency, Kansas City, held regular tea dances, popular social events featuring live big band music, dancing, drinks, and socializing, family-friendly atmosphere held in the hotel's spectacular atrium. These events drew large crowds, locals and hotel guests alike. Friday, July 17th, 1981. This particular Friday evening was a typical summer night in Kansas City. Warm weather, end of the work week, people ready to relax and socialize. The tea dance that evening was well attended. More than 1,000 people in the atrium. Some estimates suggest 1,500. 2,000 people total in and around the atrium. Who was there? On the lobby floor, couples dancing to the big band music tables where people sat chatting and drinking, staff serving guests, families with children. On the walkways, people standing on the second and fourth floor walkways, watching the dancers below, enjoying the view, chatting with friends, some sitting on the walkway's edges, children running around. The walkways were crowded, more crowded than usual. Many people had gathered on them to watch the dancing below and enjoy the spectacle of the atrium. The atmosphere. By all accounts, the evening was joyful, Live music filling the space, people laughing and dancing, the beautiful atrium creating a festive atmosphere, families together, friends socializing. A perfect Friday evening, no one suspected that within minutes, this scene of joy would become one of horror and death. Part 3. 7:05 p.m., the collapse. The moment. At approximately 7:05 p.m., as the band played and people danced and socialized, disaster struck. What happened? The fourth-floor walkway. Without warning, the connections holding the fourth-floor walkway to the ceiling suddenly failed. The box beam connections. The steel rods holding the walkway up pulled through the beams they were attached to. In an instant, the fourth-floor walkway lost its support. It dropped straight down, falling approximately 20 feet, 6 meters, and crashed directly onto the second-floor walkway below it. The second-floor walkway. The second-floor walkway, designed to hold its own weight plus the weight of people on it, was never designed to withstand the impact of another walkway falling onto it from above. When the fourth-floor walkway crashed into it, the second-floor walkway's connections also failed, unable to bear the sudden massive load. Both walkways fell together, plummeting approximately another 25 feet, 8 meters, to the crowded lobby floor. The total collapse, from the moment the first connection failed to both walkways hitting the ground, was approximately 5 seconds. In less than 5 seconds, 2 walkways collapsed, fell a combined distance of about 45 feet, carrying everyone on them, and crashing onto the crowded lobby floor. What people experienced on the walkways. For people on the walkways, there was almost no warning. A sudden lurching sensation. A split second of realization. We're falling. Then the fall itself, seconds of terror. Then impact. Some people on the fourth-floor walkway fell through the air to the lobby, if they were thrown clear. Others rode the walkways down on the lobby floor. For people on the lobby floor, it was sudden and catastrophic. A tremendous crashing sound. No time to react. Walkways, people, steel, concrete, glass crashing down. Tons of debris falling from above. Dust and chaos. Then screams. The aftermath, immediate. When the collapse stopped, the scene. 2 massive walkways lying on the lobby floor. Twisted steel and shattered concrete, glass everywhere. Water from broken pipes flooding the area. Dust obscuring vision. And bodies crushed, trapped, injured, dead. Sounds. Screams of the injured. People calling for help. Cries for loved ones. The sound of water flowing. The groaning of stressed metal. Immediate response. People who weren't injured immediately tried to help. Hotel guests and staff, trying to lift debris, pulling people out, rendering first aid. But the scale was overwhelming. Someone called 911. Within minutes, the first emergency responders would arrive to find a scene of devastation beyond anything they'd encountered before. Part 4. The rescue effort, chaos and heroism. Emergency response, Kansas City. Emergency services responded immediately. Police, fire department, EMS, paramedics, multiple ambulances. What they found. First responders arrived to find hundreds of casualties, people trapped under tons of debris, injured people everywhere. Chaos and panic, a disaster scene inside a luxury hotel. The challenges. Rescuers faced enormous challenges. 1. The scale. Over 100 people killed. Over 200 injured victims scattered throughout the debris. Some trapped, some dead, some critical. 2. The debris. Tons of steel, concrete, and glass. Dangerous to move, could shift and cause secondary collapse. Heavy machinery needed, but difficult to bring into hotel-tight spaces. That's now 3. Triage. So many injured that medical personnel had to prioritize treating those who could be saved first. Agonizing decisions. 4. Structural stability. Was the rest of the building stable? Was the third-floor walkway still standing safe? Could the area collapse further? The rescue effort. Despite these challenges, rescue workers performed heroically. Search and rescue. Carefully moving debris, searching for survivors trapped under rubble, using specialized equipment, working through the night, medical treatment, triage areas set up in the hotel. The most critically injured transported to hospitals, medical teams working to save lives. But many injuries were too severe. The hotel as emergency room. The hotel essentially became a mass casualty treatment center. Hotel rooms converted to treatment areas, hallways filled with injured hotel staff assisting medical personnel. A chaotic but determined effort to save lives. Hospitals, multiple Kansas City hospitals were overwhelmed. Receiving dozens of critical patients, operating rooms running continuously, doctors and nurses called in from off-duty, blood donations urgently needed. The medical community mobilizing. The search continues. The search for victims continued for days. Carefully removing debris, finding bodies, identifying victims, notifying families. The last victim was pulled from the rubble approximately 14 hours after the collapse. Part 5. The death toll, 114 lives lost. The final count, 114 people died in the Hyatt Regency Walkway Collapse. More than 200 were injured, many severely. At the time, it was the deadliest structural collapse in U.S. history, later surpassed by the 9/11 World Trade Center collapse in 2001, which was a terrorist attack rather than an accidental structural failure. The victims, the 114 people who died, represented a cross-section of Kansas City and beyond. Ages from children to elderly families with kids at the tea dance, young couples on dates, middle-aged adults socializing, seniors enjoying the music, backgrounds, Kansas City residents, most hotel guests from out of town, hotel employees, musicians in the band, where they were, on the walkways. Many victims were standing on the walkways when they collapsed. They either fell with the walkways or fell through the air. On the lobby floor. Many victims were on the lobby floor, dancing, sitting at tables, standing when tons of steel and concrete crashed down on them. The randomness, the tragedy was random. Some people survived by being a few feet away from where debris fell. Some died while their friends next to them survived. Some families lost multiple members. Some families had some survive and some die. Stories of loss. Families torn apart. Parents lost children. Children lost parents. Siblings lost each other. Spouses lost partners. Young lives cut short. Teenagers and young adults in their prime. Just beginning their lives. Attending a dance on a Friday night. Never came home. Heroes who died. Some people died trying to help others, pushing people out of the way, trying to warn others, acts of courage in the final second. The injured, the more than 200 injured suffered, crushed limbs, traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, severe lacerations, broken bones, internal injuries, psychological trauma. Many survivors faced months or years of recovery, permanent disabilities, survivor's guilt. Why did I survive when others didn't? PTSD from the horror they witnessed. Part 6. The investigation, what went wrong. Multiple investigations. Following the collapse, several investigations were launched. National Bureau of Standards, now NIST, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, Kansas City authorities, independent engineering experts, legal investigations for potential criminal charges and civil liability. The central question, how did this happen? How could walkways in a brand new modern hotel suddenly collapse? The answer. The investigation revealed a shocking story of engineering failures, miscommunication, and a design change that proved deadly. The original design. The suspended walkways were designed by Guillermo Colaco Inca, a structural engineering firm. The original design called for a single continuous steel rod system. Long steel rods, called hanger rods, would run from the ceiling down through the fourth floor walkway, continue down through the second floor walkway, all the way to the bottom. Each walkway would hang from these rods. The rods would bear the weight. In this design, the ceiling, roof structure, would support the weight of both walkways. Each walkway hung independently from the ceiling via the continuous rods. This design could have supported the required load. The design change, the fatal flaw. During construction, the steel fabricator, Havens Steel Company, found the original design difficult to construct. They proposed a change. Instead of single continuous rods running from ceiling through both walkways, use separate rods for each walkway. Fourth floor walkway would hang from the ceiling on its own set of rods. Second floor walkway would hang from the fourth floor walkway essentially. The fourth floor walkway would carry its own weight, plus the entire weight of the second floor walkway below it. The critical difference, original design. Ceiling supports fourth floor walkway. Ceiling also supports second floor walkway via continuous rods. Each walkway's weight goes directly to the ceiling. Revised design. Ceiling supports fourth floor walkway. Fourth floor walkway also supports second floor walkway. The fourth floor walkway has to carry double the load its own weight and the second floor walkway's weight. This design change effectively doubled the load on the fourth floor walkway's connections. The connections were not designed to handle this doubled load, the approval or lack thereof. Here's where the failure became catastrophic. The design change was approved by the structural engineering firm via a phone conversation and quick review of shop drawings, without a thorough analysis of how it affected the load-bearing capacity. This was a massive engineering failure. The implications of the design change were not properly analyzed. The connections were never recalculated for the new configuration. No one caught that the load had effectively doubled. The change was approved without understanding its consequences. The construction. The walkways were built according to the revised design, with the fatal flaw built right in the fourth-floor walkway. Connections were bearing double their designed load. But no one realized this. The collapse was inevitable. With the revised design, the connections were severely overloaded, designed to handle approximately 30% more than the normal expected load. Safety factor. But actually bearing approximately 200% of their designed capacity. They were failing specifications from the moment they were installed. On July 17, 1981, with the walkways crowded with people, the overloaded connections finally failed. The collapse wasn't a matter of if, but when. Part 7, the specific failure point. What physically failed? The specific point of failure was the connection between the hanger rods and the walkway box beams. The design. Hollow steel box beams formed the structure of the walkways. Hanger rods passed through holes in the top of these box beams. Large washers and nuts on top of the box beams held everything up, the weight of the walkway. Essentially hung from these nuts and washers pressing on top of the box beam. The problem. In the revised design, the fourth-floor walkway's connections had to support not just the fourth-floor walkway, but also the second-floor walkway, hanging below it. The force concentrated at these connection points was far greater than designed. The stress was too much. What happened? When the connections failed, the nuts and washers pulled through the box beam. The metal tore. Once one connection failed, the load shifted to the remaining connections. They failed in rapid succession, cascading failure. Within seconds, all connections failed. The walkway dropped. Could it have been prevented? Absolutely, in multiple ways. 1. Proper analysis. If the engineering firm had properly analyzed the design change, they would have immediately realized it doubled the load and was unacceptable. 2. Better communication. If there had been better communication between fabricator, engineer, and architect, the implications might have been understood. 3. Independent review. If an independent engineer had reviewed the design change, they likely would have caught the error. 4. Load testing. If the completed walkways had been load tested before opening, the weakness would have been discovered. 5. Following original design. If the original design had been followed, the collapse would not have occurred. Part 8. Responsibility and consequences. Who was responsible? The investigation identified multiple parties who bore responsibility. 1. A structural engineering firm, Gillum Colaco Inc., failed to properly review and analyze the design change, approved a modification that doubled the load without adequate analysis, did not ensure the revised design met safety standards. Primary responsibility. 2. The steel fabricator, Haven Steel Company, proposed the design change, should have better understood the implications, share of responsibility. 3. The general contractor failed to ensure proper oversight, should have questioned the design change, share of responsibility. 4. Regulatory oversight. Building inspectors approved the design. Inadequate review of structural elements, systemic failure in oversight. Legal consequences. Civil lawsuits. Hundreds of lawsuits filed by victims and families against the hotel, engineering firm, contractor, fabricator, and others settled for approximately $140 million total. Massive sum in 1980s dollars. Individual settlements ranged from thousands to millions depending on injury, death, criminal investigation. A grand jury investigated potential criminal charges, but ultimately decided not to file criminal charges. Determination was that while there was gross negligence, it didn't rise to criminal culpability under Missouri law. Professional consequences. The engineering firm, the two principal engineers, Jack Gillum and Daniel Duncan, faced discipline. Missouri Board of Architects, professional engineers, and land surveyors held hearings. The engineers lost their licenses. Their professional engineering licenses were revoked, later reinstated with probation. Their careers were effectively over, the firm's reputation destroyed. This was one of the most significant cases of professional engineering discipline in U.S. history. The hotel, the Hyatt Regency, Kansas City. repaired and reopened with completely redesigned walkways, continued operating for decades, eventually became a Sheraton, now operating as a hotel, but forever associated with the disaster